Throughout pretty much all of sci-fi, there is one ship that I deem one of the most iconic, and that is the USS Enterprise. And today we're going to start a project to try and rebuild it in Kerbal Space Program. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Kerbal Space Program with Down to Earth Astronomy. This is going to be the start of a new project. It's going to be the Enterprise project. I want to try and build the USS Enterprise in Kerbal Space Program. Now, I know I'm not the first, and I probably won't be the last to do this, but I still thought it would be a fun little project. And I hope you will join me along the way as we're going to start the build process today. Now, for all you Trekkies out there, I will specifically be going for the Model C of the USS Enterprise. I have a quick small image of it here. Because of the sharp angles, I think it makes it a little bit easier for me to build, rather than if we have to do a lot with round, big, curvy angles and stuff like that. So that's why I've gone with this specific model. There are some places around where it's going to be a little difficult, but we'll see what we can do about it. So I think today what we'll do is we'll start with the saucer section. We'll try to make it as accurate as possible. I do want the saucer section to be able to undock, but probably won't get that far today. But my idea was to simply just start with a small cupola as the base of the ship. That's going to be the top of the saucer and obviously the center. We'll try to build it around that. I want the ship to be flyable with carrying its own fuel, so we'll have to put on some fuel tanks, and I'm not sure which ones it should be. No, that's too big. That's slightly bigger. Is that okay? That should be okay. That actually looks okay, I think. So if this is gonna be, I'm gonna build like a central structure of the ship right now, just to kind of give me something to build around. So I want to make sure this is fairly sturdy. So I think that's basically going to be the height of the saucer section. So we're going to have the bottom of the saucer down here. So next I think we want to build out radially. I think it needs to be one bigger maybe. Like so. I think that's going to be the size we'll be working with here. Now I want to make this fairly stable, at least as stable as I can make it. Since again this is going to be like the center part of the ship, it would be preferable if this would actually be able to hold some weight. So we're going to put some struts on it there, and of course all of this will be covered up when we move on with the build later on. Put some struts on that there. That looks okay to me. Should we just quickly try to put that on the landing pad and have a look? Well, that looks okay. There was a little bit of wobble there, but it's not bad. That's definitely manageable. And again, as I begin to build the ring around it, they will also be anchored to each other, giving it even more support. And same thing with the whatever you're going to use to cover it up. I'll also anchor that together. So hopefully this should be plenty. Now, here comes the next part. That's going to be a little interesting. You can see here on some of the pictures that there is a lot of like windows on the ship, especially on the underside. Not that much on the upper side or around the edge. But I don't think I have a good image of it though. But I do believe that when this saucer section undocks, it has its own thrusters at the back. So we kind of want to do the same thing. And I think what I want to do, and I'm not sure if this is a good idea, but I think I want to try and use these because I've been looking at this. So, right, if I could use these and do something along the lines of this, right? And then turn that, because I want to build like base here at the back. That's what I'm trying to do right now. Build some kind of base that allows me to store away the engines for the saucer section when they're not in use. Basically hiding them inside these, I guess they're like cargo bays, something like that. So something along those lines. But you can see when I close this, this has like a curved edge here, whereas on the pictures it has a very very steep edge, very straight steep edge on the side. So we could kind of use that edge maybe, but it would have like a curve. I don't think these are going to work very well. So I think I'll downscale the edge a little bit and try to see what would happen if I use the Mark II base instead. What I then had in mind was to take these and then kind of angle them back and then use that as, I know it's not a straight edge, but it's close enough. So we kind of have this slanted edge here. We have a small straight edge down, and then use that as the build platform. Now the question is, if I'll be able to hide some of the engines inside the rear compartment back here. So if we try to open that up again, I'll have to hide as much thrust in this section here as I can, which is going to be interesting. So we're going to see if we can find the most compact engines we can fit in here without us having to fit in like a ludicrous amount. Oh, we also have these, the vector engines. They're probably small enough that I could hide 3 of these in here. So what would give me more? 3 of these. What's the specific impulse? Okay. So if I hide 3 of these, I could try to hide 2 mastodons. Can I hide 2 mastodons? I think I can. But 3 vectors would give me more vacuum thrusts. There we go. And now, let's turn that off again. I should be able to just close this hangar door, and they will be completely invisible in there. And I can then open up the hangars, and we should have thrust. Now, I don't know if we have enough thrust here. I mean, we should probably do a small test. Oh, no. Yeah, no, that hasn't gone right, has it? That's not gone right. Okay, so the docking clamp seems to have a bit of an issue holding up a structure this big. We'll probably just need more docking clamps. That's okay. That's not part of the test. We're not here to test docking clamps. I assume as soon as the vectoring engines start up. Oh, this looks good. Apart from it wobbling all over the place. Okay, let's try to release the docking clamps and see what happens. No! Okay, so we don't have enough thrust to actually lift this off on its own, which is not a huge problem. Okay, let's close that up, and we'll do some lighting and other stuff on it later. And then let's finish off this edge of this like ring around the outer perimeter of the saucer section here. So I guess we're just gonna go and get even more of these. And one problem I have noticed is that the last section here is a little bit too big. So if I open this one, you can see that is now covering up one of the engines. But that should be easy to solve if I go over here. Take that off, and I just replace that with a slightly, only slightly, smaller unit. So it seems like the small one is just slightly too small, and the big one is just slightly too big. So I guess I'll have to try to, that's not it, I have to try to work with the larger one. Hold on, let's just undo all this until we get back to, like, that. There's a small gap. I'll see if I can close that. But if I open this one up now, we should be good. This should be okay. It's not the prettiest, but it will have to do. Now, of course, as you can see, these sections, this section here, all this section here is not really connected, even though they kind of touch each other, but they're not really. So I think what I'll do is I'll try to put a strut from there and in there, and then do the same thing on the underside. And that should mean, if I save this again and put this on the landing pad, that it should feel like one solid ring now. Let's see how the physics react. It seems like it does. One solid ring. That is pretty cool. I think this is a good start. So I guess next step would be to begin to cover up the top section of the of the saucer here. We're gonna save the bottom section for last because that's probably gonna be the most difficult one. And I had a little poke around, and I found here the structural. There's these plates here, structural plates. They look pretty good. I haven't really decided if I want to. Hold on, what is this? Oh, it's not. It's not. There we go. If I want them to be able to go out and walk on it, I think I want them to be able to. I mean, I could go all the way up here and just have the glass section being visible, but I think I want them to be able to go out and have a Kerbal walk around the surface of this thing. So I'll put them like there. And then we'll just keep expanding this, I guess. Ah, that's beautiful. And now I should be able to just take one of these and then just angle it down. Okay, we have to turn that off so it's not snapping, and then just angle this carefully like so, and we have ourselves a very, very good looking beginning of a roof on a saucer section, I think. And I also noticed they have these panels that kind of get the right size, these triangular panels that I could kind of like put in there like so, and then we can begin to build on that. So now that I have a triangle there, then I can just continue the same pattern as before. Not like that. Like that. Only without it having visible gaps. Like that. And then we'll run that section all the way out, and I can put another triangle and run that section all the way out, and just work my way down until this whole roof is complete. Of course, just as with the other things, these ends here are not anchored. So we will have to... first of all, we'll have to make sure that these plates here get anchored to each other. So one of the problems, I think, is that it's having a hard time judging the angles here. Okay, here we go. Look at that. I think the floor is pretty much done. We'll have to do some trimming here around the edge, obviously. But what you can see I've done here on the underside is I've stitched the different layers together. So, like, we have the main layer going out here that's actually attached to the centerpiece. But that is then attached here. That means these sections here are not actually normally attached to each other. So I've just given these some struts to hold it all together. So these now actually work as 8 separate plates. And I should now be able to just take that and then lower this down like so. Now obviously that gave us some troubles because it's gonna be it's riding up there. So if I tilt this downwards, oh, that's beautiful. There's still a gap. I can close that. Hold on. Like so. Look at that. And there we go. I think that is the roof of the saucer section done. All we need to do now is to ensure that the roof is actually connected to the rest of the ship so that it's not like going all over the place. So we're just going to give it a few struts, and we've done that with symmetry now, so it should this should in theory be a roof that should all be one solid structure. Let's try to put it on the pad just to give us an idea about how this is actually. Yeah, look at that. It's wobbling a little bit, but again, it is mostly a roof. That, at least from the distance, that looks like a saucer section to me. And now all we really have to do is just to take this and flip it around so it's upside down. And then we can continue to build the same... Oh, this one needs to be adjusted. We can begin to build the same thing here on the underside. Now, of course, only slightly different. It is gonna go straight in. I guess until we begin to encounter these struts, I might have to move these struts here on the inside in a little bit further. So I basically have to just run this straight in, and then up, and then I have to put some kind of like nose cone on this to finish it off, I guess. But that will probably be in a future episode. I think I'm gonna call it here for today. So if you want to continue this little build project, save that, then give this video a like so I know that you like this, and also go down to the subscribe button so that you get the video next time the continued enterprise project comes out. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, I'll see you in space.